Day 6, Principle 6. Principle 5 and 6 really speak to each other. They're very closely related. Um, Working with natural resources and services um, enables us to better recycle and reuse those elements. Nature produces no waste. Natural systems tend to reincorporate what was in them before. So if a forest is made out of the materials that were there in the ground, and then essentially that forest is able to complete that cycle in a never-ending way. So we hear a lot about recycling nowadays. What we're interested in is cycling, and it's this idea that everything cycles continuously over different time frames. Even rocks and minerals in the mantle of the earth cycle over millions and billions of years as tectonic plates move around. Um, when in much faster time frames, you know, organic matter decays to compost. That some of that compost becomes incorporated into the ground, and that then is part of the material that creates the next generation. So this couldn't be better summarized than by the worm, the earthworm. Um, I think it's a toss up whether it's the bee or the earthworm that's the most important individual species on the planet. It's a moot point anyway. Charles Darwin was certainly fascinated with the earthworm, and to understand that this element represents the nature of the ability of nature to build on itself, to create ecosystems. So the earthworm is a suitable icon. Waste not, want not. Okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Waste not, want not. So the way to eliminate wants and help to meet your needs is to eliminate waste. Another way that I like to put this is you could look to the waste stream for opportunities. Look at whatever system you're observing and see where the surpluses go, the things that perhaps other elements in the system, other people, or fail to value, whether that's surface water runoff or rotting vegetable matter or unutilized people, underutilized building materials. There are pulses of energy that pass through nature at different times of the year. Catch and store energy. We're thinking about that, and thinking also about how, by harmonizing with those seasons and patterns of nature, we can begin to see what we may have previously seen as waste. We can begin to see that as a resource. So the earthworm is a suitable icon for this principle because it lives by consuming plant litter. It lives on waste, which it converts into humus, and that improves the soil environment for itself, for soil microorganisms and for plants. So the very action of the worm creates worm-friendly environments. This is how we need to be thinking. And it's doing it from the plant litter that is there. It's not importing resources from outside, it's utilizing what's there. So thus the earthworm, like all living things, is part of a web where the outputs of one are the inputs to another. So again, with our systems thinking, look at the elements that are lying around us and think about how we can build systems where outputs of one system become the inputs of the next, and join things together. The proverb, waste not, want not, reminds us that it is easy to be wasteful when there is an abundance, and that this waste can be the cause of later hardship. So, yeah, we don't always value things when we have a lot of them. The opportunities to reduce waste and, in fact, live from waste are historically unprecedented. Let's just think about how many people live on the fringes of large urban settlement, and basically by processing the wastes, cycling materials and plastics and metals and cardboard and organic matter. And perhaps if we can get very adept at that and get very good at that, we might even be able to start to live at quite an increasing life standard. We get very good at harvesting these unutilized resources. This very, very wasteful society that we're part of in some ways represents opportunities, because other people aren't necessarily thinking of it in that way. They see, oh, waste, get rid of it, rather than see, I see unutilized resource, I see potential. There's muck in brass, there is potential in, was that, no, there's brass in muck. There's brass in muck, as in brass, as in money, in muck, in the thing that other people can't, don't do, historically don't value. So in the past, only the destitute made a living from waste. Today, we should acknowledge that those who creatively use waste as the very essence, it is the very essence of living rightly on the earth. So whether artists, creative people, growers and farmers, and people recolonizing, derelict land, and bringing that back into commission, that becomes the leading edge of restoration, is working on this rehabilitating the waste of if you like, of the economy, society, economic paradigm that seems to be dying around us. Opportunities often lie in the waste stream. Spotting potential in those things, in the things that others throw away, creates a huge advantage. Elements to grow together to build effective systems. Wow. So can we see things in the waste stream that we can use as elements to build effective systems? Well, of course we can. And in fact, once we begin to look in that way, we start to see them everywhere. So I'm sure we'll do a more deeper talk about this on another moment of the PDC. But there's a picture behind me this winter at Trevlack Farm, and what we see in front of us is a pile of waste. Trevlack Farm's maintenance strategy is they're bringing their hedges back to be proper field boundaries and laying them, and by letting them grow out and then laying them. And the process of doing that creates a lot of what we will call brash, twigs and sticks that we don't really know what to do with. And when you do whole fields worth of hedges, you end up with a lot of this material. So you can easily be forgiven for starting to think of this. It's a waste material. We need to get rid of it. This had sat around on the farm for a whole year. And when we came along, we looked at that and thought, aha, I see wonderful opportunity here. Narrow diameter wood. It would have dried out nicely, even though it's been out in the elements. It still would burn nicely. And what we can do that is we can separate the twigs from the sticks. The narrowest diameter wood, we're going to burn that to create a lot of heat. And we're going to sit that on top of the sticks, the slightly wider diameter wood. And the heat from that, for the pyrolysis process, drive off all the gases and leave us behind with a pure form of charcoal if we extinguish the fire at the right moment. And so then we have turned what easily regarded as a waste into something that's a very high valuable resource. We turned hedge trimmings into biochar. We created a pure carbon product that actually potentially has a market value, and it certainly represents a volume of carbon that has been removed from the carbon cycle and that can be returned to somewhere where it can have long-term benefit, i.e. in soil. So produce no waste. Where you see waste, understand that it's just an opportunity to be exploited. No one's yet thought how to utilize that. So there's your chance if you can anticipate that and be the first there. Okay, thanks for listening, and let's have a fantastic day 6, and let's think a lot about strategies to reach a zero waste society, zero waste living, and to do that by really looking creatively at the natural world, the natural flow of natural resources and energy around us, asking ourselves how can we access that and work with that, use and value natural resources and services to create a society in which, or processes in which, we produce no waste. We learn to value waste as the input of the next follow-on system. Thank you very much for attention.